Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Saturday evening class. And for those who are joining us from Asia, good morning. And for those who are joining us from Europe, you're way over your bedtime. So we had another practice this morning, as usual. And so the evening practices, to me anyway, is a little bit different from the morning class. It's a little bit more introspective. And so I like to start with a word that focused my mind, and the word that I wanted to use today is intervention. So I was talking to a neighbor of mine who's a nurse practitioner. We were talking about the epidemic, and we both agree that the epidemic is still with us. It's not winding down yet. It might not be for a long time, but embedded in that is another epidemic. An epidemic of stress, epidemic of metabolic disorder. And today I just discovered another loved one of mine. This one is actually a blood relative, not just a good friend. Has suffered thyroid disorder. And that's just another form of metabolic disorder. And if you look it up, thyroid disorder, whether it's hyper or hypo, is very much related to stress. So stress is a big problem for us. And so where's the source of stress? How do you deal with stress? What can you do with stress? I believe stress comes from lifestyle. It's the way we live our life in the modern days. We put a lot of physical stress, a lot of mental stress. But worse than that is that we don't know how to undo the stress. Undo the stress doesn't mean taking a vacation. You know this. I'm more stressful taking a vacation than before. So lifestyle disease, lifestyle disorder is an addiction. And like all addiction, there's the 12 steps. I know the 12 steps. I used to work as a volunteer in the prison. 65% of the prison populations are drug addicts, believe it or not. There are more drugs available in prison than anywhere else. And so I know a lot about 12 steps. And the very first step is called intervention. You have to accept that the problem is beyond you, that you have tried everything you could, and still you cannot overcome this lifestyle disorder. And now you need help. Now, of course, the original 12 steps were invented by two Christians. One was a pastor and one was a physician. And so the plan was written according to the Christians. And of course, as time evolved, the first step, which says that, basically says that you can't anymore, but God can. And that has evolved into God as you know her or him. It means a bigger power. So how do we overcome stress? How do we overcome the disorder that we all suffer by choosing and by practicing the wrong lifestyle? And I always said that there's actually nothing wrong with your body. There's absolutely nothing wrong with your body. What is wrong is how you use your body. So you have to undo that. It's a lifestyle disorder, which means that you don't just take drugs. You actually have to change your lifestyle. But if you could have done it, you would have done it already. So now you need the bigger power. And for me, that bigger power is harmony. To understand your place in the barbershop quartet. To be able to sing in harmony. To know who you are, to know the universe, and to be part of that universe, not to be a counterpart. But before we can be one with the universe, at least we could be one with ourselves. One with ourselves means we have to know who we are. Who we are is not just this body. This is one dimension of existence. There is another dimension called the mind. The mind is not the brain. The mind is something else. The mind and the body is the materiality and the mentality, or the physicality versus the spirituality. But to bring them together, you need a bridge or a harness, and that's what we call qi. But before we practice qi, before we practice not only our qi, but how our qi can be related to the qi of the universe, at least we should know about our body and our mind. Someone mentioned that the key is in freeing up your mind. That's actually a misdirection. If you think that all you have to do is free up your mind, that's a misdirection. Freedom is about choice. It's about choosing where you put your mind. It's about choosing, if I want to put my mind in my body, I want to have the skill to do that. If I want my mind to be wandering around, I want to have the skill to do that. The problem is that we don't have the skill to actually enforce the mind. That's the difference between being commitment versus being stuck. Oftentimes we talk about how we're committed to a job. No, you're not committed to a job. You're stuck in your job because you don't have a choice. But if you have a choice, now you could choose, and that's freedom. So when we talk about freeing your mind, we have to be careful. It's about giving a mind the freedom to choose. That requires skill. But before we do that, we're going to have to learn to sit properly. We want to learn how to be part of the universe, to be harmony with the universe. The universe consists of the earth and the heaven. And we are the being part of the earth and the heaven. And you learn how to sit properly, you need to learn how to stand properly, you need to learn how to lie down properly, and you need to learn how to walk properly. It's a skill. If you have the skill, you're now in harmony with the universe. If you don't, you're not. And if you're not in harmony with the universe, then there's nothing that you could ask. There's nothing that you can ask. You couldn't ask for the higher power to help you if the higher power is not in resonance with you. So how do we do that? It's very simple, actually. You sit properly. You sit like the bell. You open your shoulder. You straighten your spine as if you're hanging your spine from the ceiling, as if somebody is taking a piece of hair and just pull it up so that you're now hanging from the ceiling. It's about taking the forehead, lean back so that you can touch, the neck touches the collar, and then tuck in the chin. It's about understanding that there's the sun and then there's the absence of sun. We live in the solar system, so the sun provides the most power, most energy to us. And the part of a body that faces the sun at all time is the top of the head. This energy point is called the 100 meet. This is where all the yang energy comes together. And so if you want to be part of the universe, in harmony with the universe, you have to learn how to sit with this point pointing to heaven. Later on, we're going to learn how to stand with the bottom of feet touching the earth. But for now, mindful of the top of your head. Now when you sit like this, the energy will rise in your spine. This is the yang energy channel. Circle around, come back in the front. This is the yin energy channel. So I talk about the yang energy, the one that is influenced by the sun, and the yin energy, the one that is influenced by the absence of the sun. They form a loop going between the 100 meet on the very top of your head, which is exposed to the sun at all time, to the very bottom of your upper torso, between your reproductive organ and your bowel movement, where it's always hidden from the sun. That's the opposite. That's the polar opposite. So when you see the Tai Chi, we often call that, we mistakenly call that the yin-yang symbol. It's not the yin-yang symbol, it's actually the Tai Chi. Tai means supreme, Ji means polar. It actually symbolizes the magnetic field. When the Chinese first discovered the magnetic field and subsequently the compass, they understand that the world is made of yin and yang. It's not good or bad. It's just one has to do, one needs the other. And so from that, they understand the energy. It's always in a loop, always, always in a loop. And then they further discover that in addition to this primary loop, there are additional secondary loop. And the secondary loop goes to the extremities. 3 of them goes to our fingers, and 3 of them goes to our toes. And in that loop, there is the yin and the yang again. The yin energy goes from the inside the body, go all the way to the extremity, and the yang energy goes out, and the yin energy comes back. So I came to this country when I was 15 years old. I'm now 65. So I have spent 50 years in this country, educated all the way to my PhD, and then I became a professor, and then I became an entrepreneur. I built 2 companies, sold the last one to my partners. I took early retirement, and then I started to practice Buddhism and meditation. It's been a nice journey. What I want you to know is that I understand Western culture better than anything else. I understand Western culture better than I understand Eastern culture. Western culture is very, very objective oriented. We always identify something we wanted to do. We want to figure out what's the best way to get it done. It's always about return on investment. This is good if you want to fix a symptom. Someone asks, what do you do when you wanted to relieve your abdominal muscle? What do you do when you have this problem? What do you do when you have this problem? I think that's very important. I think that's stating the objective. Now we have to find a solution to achieve the objective. Next question is that, what does it cost? How much does it work it takes? How long would it take? Very, very Western oriented. The problem is that that's dealing with symptom. The best way to deal with symptom is take a pill. I do this. I get so tired, I can't help it. I gotta pop some pill, I can get some sleep. The pill is a wonderful thing. Take some pill. Find a pill that you can take to relieve of your abdominal pain, and it will go away. But all you're doing is you're making your symptom go away. You have nothing to do with the underlying cause. The underlying cause is because you don't live in harmony with the universe. I was writing something this morning. The first thing I got up is a student asked me a question on our circle that has to do with qi and the body clock. Because we talk about this 6 energy loop, 3 in the hands, 3 in the toes. Each one consists of yin and yang. Each one of them is active, is more active. They're active 24 hours a day, but they're more active in 4 hours in a day. Each of the energy line, whether it's yin and yang, is active 2 hours in a day. So for example, the liver and the gallbladder pair is active from 11 o'clock at night. That says that you better go to sleep before 11, lie down and let your body rest so that the liver and the gallbladder would start to work, cleanse remove toxin from your bloodstream and start manufacturing new blood. That's obvious. At 7 o'clock in the morning is when your stomach energy line and your spleen energy line is active. The stomach is a yang energy line. That's when the sun rises. So it's a very powerful energy line, so you better be up. At around noon, there's another set of energy line that is active. And we typically like to ask people to take a nap to avoid the harshness of the yang energy coming from the sun. Now you say, well, is that really true? Is this really scientific? If you grow tomato in your backyard, you know better than to sneak out in the middle of the night and start tilting the soil because you want the plant to rest. If you grow tomato, you know better than to water the plant in the middle of the day when the sun is very harsh. You know better. Why? Because you believe that the tomato is part of the universe. Right? You live and die as part of the universe. You dare not to let your tomato live against the universe because it won't grow unless you put it in the greenhouse. Right? But even then, you have to assimilate the universe. And you think that you're more important than the tomato. You think that you don't have to live according to the laws of the universe. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. That's what I mean by living in harmony. Know your part, play your part, be with the other parts. Understanding that we are such a small, insignificant part of the universe that even if we were to disappear, or the entire species disappear, it would not affect the sun. It would not affect the rest of the universe. So by logic, whatever illness you might have, you can try to fix it on your own. But whatever you can do is nothing compared to what would happen to you if you actually live in harmony. And that's what I mean by intervention. You have to extend your hand out to the power, the higher power. The higher power is the universe. So we talk great deal about yin and yang, it's just black and white, but it's actually a lot more complicated than that. It's not just black and white. We actually believe in the elements, the 5 materials, right? We talked about this in the past, the water, the wood, the soil, the fire, and it's actually quite interesting, right? If you think about it, that there is a constructive path. It all starts with water. Water is the source of life. If you don't have water, there's no life. You go to Mars, there's no water, or maybe there's water, but if there is no water, there's no life. So the life begins with water. When you have water, the water goes to the plant, okay? Goes to the tree. And then the tree requires fire in order to grow, heat to grow. And then now everything has to come back to earth, the soil. And then from the soil, they take mineral. So it comes together like this. So the Chinese understood that thousands of years ago, and they actually start to think about our internal organs the same way. And the source of life for the Chinese is the kidney. The kidney forms a symbiotic triangle with the lung and the heart. It forms another symbiotic triangle with the splint and the liver. Okay? One triangle has to do with circulation, one triangle has to do with metabolic. So I start out by talking about intervention, talking about stress and how everyone around me is falling over because of this problem or that problem. I talk about that there's embedded in the epidemic that we see. There's another one that has to do with metabolic disorder, what I call lifestyle disorder. Where does that come from? Where does the stress come from? Well, the stress is part of our DNA. The stress is our survival. The stress is the survival. So we have a nerve system called the autonomous nerve system, meaning that they're not under the control of the brain. They don't require the control of the brain. They act on their own. So the 2 most prominent autonomous system is called the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. Some people call the sympathetic the fight or flight, and then the parasympathetic would be called rest and digest. Now, with understanding that these are autonomous means that you cannot turn them on. They turn on by themselves. If they turn on by themselves, then you cannot turn them off. Just because I talk about going to vacation thinking that that's relaxation. No, you cannot turn it off. You cannot turn it on, you cannot turn it off. So how does it get turned on? The autonomous nerve system has its own central nervous system, has its own way of activating. The parasympathetic nerve, the nerve nodules, are distributed around the spinal cord, which means that they're based on sensation. The minute that the body senses danger, it goes into the fight or flight. What happens in fight or flight? That's survival. That's when they see the bus coming your way and you need to get out of the way. So the sympathetic nerve is activated by sensation. When your body senses danger, it kicks into the first thing happens is that your adrenal gland, the little triangular piece that sits on top of your kidney, puts out stress hormone. The most prominent one is called cortisol. The cortisol goes into your liver, goes into the bloodstream, and then now it tells your body to go into a fight or flight. All kinds of things happen. It puts out glucose because it thinks that you need energy. So I'm being a diabetic. One of my biggest problems is that actually I could do everything do right, but in my morning the glucose is very high because my body thinks that I need glucose, and yet I have insulin disorder. So I'm not actually digesting or dissolving the glucose the way I'm supposed to. But my body puts out glucose thinking that I need it. That's called the morning syndrome. It puts out glucose. It's actually one of the big reasons for diabetic. It puts out cholesterol. It puts out all kinds of, so all the problem that you know comes from that. It, on one hand, is survival. On the other hand, is that it causes a lot of lifestyle disease. So the only way that you can reverse it is to learn how to activate the parasympathetic nerve, because the parasympathetic completely reverses it. It shuts down your adrenal gland. It reactivates your salivary gland. It's completely opposite. But because the parasympathetic nerve is also autonomous, you cannot turn it on. You cannot use your brain to turn it on. No, it doesn't work like that. But what's interesting is that the parasympathetic nerve has its own nerve system as well. And it's distributed in the organ, not in the spinal. So it turns out that if you learn how to do abdominal breathing being a major part of your connective tissue, it's connected to all the internal organ. It would massage the internal organ, fooling your body into the parasympathetic nerve, going into the rest and digest. That's the intervention that I'm talking about, is how to put your body into this parasympathetic nerve. Something that you cannot control by definition, by design. How do you fool your body into doing that? So now that we have done all that, clearing the energy channel, both primary and secondary, learning how to do abdominal breathing, we're ready for some intervention. This comes in 3 steps. The first step is your posture. I want you to sit like the bell. Straighten your spine. The feet are the pedestal. If they're not touching your yoga mat, put some pillow. I don't want you to use any of your muscle. I want you to use your structure. Your hands should be relaxed. Straighten your spine as if somebody is pulling on the hair on top of your head. Your spine is like the clapper inside the bell hanging from the ceiling. Open your shoulder. Relax your shoulder. Lean back your forehead like the neck is now touching the collar. Tuck in your chin. Relax your eyelid so you can see through your eyelashes. You can see your knee and your hand and the floor. Relax. Now I want you to lean forward. And then now I want you to lean back. As you lean back, keep the hip in place. The hip is actually forward, and your upper torso is leaning back. You feel the stress on your adrenal gland. You're putting pressure on your adrenal gland, fooling the adrenal gland into not releasing any stress hormone, forcing your body, or more interestingly, enticing your body into the rest and digest. Lean back a little bit more, like you're going to fall over. Now your spine, all the way to the top of the head, 100 feet. We call this the one pillar supporting the sky. You're now the center of the universe, but at least you're part of the universe if you don't believe that you're the center. Mathematically, you're the center because the universe is boundless. Now I want you to take your tongue. The tip of the tongue touches the roof of your mouth, right between the roof of the mouth and the teeth. Just touch it there. It activates your saliva gland once again, fooling and enticing your body into the rest and digest mode. I want you to focus on your stomach. As you breathe in, feel how your stomach expands. As you breathe out, feel how your stomach collapses. If you don't feel it, then do 3 deep breaths. Open your mouth, blow air through your mouth. Feel how your stomach collapses as you do that, and then just relax. Let the air rush into your nostril. Feel how your stomach expands. Do 3 of that. And if you still cannot feel it, then stop breathing. Hold it for as long as you can. And then when you stop breathing, you can feel it. Feel your stomach. We're now actually massaging all the internal organs. Again, fooling your body into the rest and digest mode. As you do that, you're actually exercising your intestines. The one internal organ that has the most surface area is the small intestine. Its length is 5 times your height. As you breathe with your diaphragm, you're exercising the small intestine, creating a lot of static electricity. We need to circulate that electricity through our spine, up to the top of the head, and come back down. You do that by creating electrical potential, and you create electrical potential by just thinking about it. Just guide it. That's why it's called guiding and enticing. That's the original name for Qigong. It's called Dao Yan. Dao means to guide, Yan means to entice. As you breathe, you feel the freshness of the air coming into your nostril, full of positive energy. As you breathe in, I want you to start at the bottom of your spine, move up very slowly to the top of your spine, to the back of your neck, to the back of your head, all the way to the top of your head, as if you're bringing positive energy to your brain. You can almost feel the coolness of your brain as you do that. When you reach the top of the head, you wait for the out breath. As you breathe out, you feel the moist air. You feel like a lot of negative energy is coming out. So you want to take this opportunity to remove all your negative energy from your brain. Just let it settle down by its own weight, starting at the forehead, down to your bridge of your nose, down to the tip of your nose, to your lip, upper lip, cross your mouth, through the tongue, which is now a conductive part of the path, through the chin, all the way down to your neck, to the front of your body, to the top of your stomach, to your belly button, all the way around. Circle around back, and then continue as you breathe in, up this time, take your body with you, straighten up the spine, open the shoulder, lean back the forehead, tuck in the chin, maintain your tongue. When you reach the very top, I want you to start bringing that negative energy down. Let it settle. Don't push it. Just let it settle by its weight. As you let it settle, I want you to lean back as if you're getting out of the way. And just let it settle to your feet, feeling the weight on your feet. We call this part the wandering dragon chasing the pearl, because initially it's very artificial. But I want you to commit yourself to 3 cycles at one time. And when you're done, you can take a break or you can continue. But once you continue, you commit another 3 cycles, very relaxed, rises up to the top, coming down from the top. And pretty soon, you will feel the energy flow and you're just chasing it. When you're successful in this, something very interesting happens. It might change in direction. It actually has a mind of its own, and all of a sudden you realize that you're not going up on your spine. You're actually going up in the front and coming down on your spine. That's okay. The universe has a say on this. You don't have a say. You're just part of the universe. Okay? So we're going to commit the next 3 minutes to this, okay? Let's get started. Okay, relax, open your eyes. So there are 1,440 minutes in a day. Round it off to 1,500 minutes. 1% is 15 minutes. 3 minutes is 1/5 of 1%. That's 0.2%. That's a pretty good investment, if you ask me. That you invest 0.2% of the day to get benefit for 99.98% of the day. I'm a businessman. I like these numbers. Now, but if you're not really ready to commit even 0.2% of your time, then you're not ready for the 12th step. It's just that simple. When you think you can still do it, then you don't need God, or God as we know her. When you think that you can actually restore your metabolic health, reverse your lifestyle disorder on your own, then you don't even need to be in this class. You're in this class because you believe that there's a higher power. Not necessarily a deity or something like that, but at least believe in the universe. Believe in the energy in the universe. Believe in harmony within yourself, between the yin and the yang, between the secondary energy line and the primary energy line, between the what I call the gestation energy line, the yin energy and the governing energy. Believe in all that, because it's common sense. Believe in the power of the universe. Believe in the power of being part of the universe. That's the intervention I'm talking about. Okay? I still believe in Western medicine. It's wonderful to fix the symptom, make the symptom go away so I can live better. But I want to be my own contractor when it comes to health, and even my Western doctor and my Chinese doctor, my acupuncturist, these are just subcontractors. They all contribute. But I'm the one in charge because I have choices, because I have skills. And with skill, I can make choice. With choice, I have freedom. And that's what spirituality is all about, is having freedom in a spiritual realm. Not just freedom in the material realm. Having freedom in the material realm is wonderful. It's actually very wonderful. But having freedom in spiritual realm, that's indescribable.